One of the risks of therapy, particularly for people who have DID or other complex trauma, is a loss of relationships. How is it that your healing can potentially lead to the end of friendships or other relationships? In many cases, survivors of chronic trauma become people pleasers as a way of staying safe. If you are caretaking others or making other people happy, even if it's at your own expense, you have a sense that you can maintain the relationship and anticipate how to respond to the events in that relationship. It makes a lot of sense. In these situations, typically, trauma survivors have few or even no boundaries. Now, imagine that therapy has led to some healing. You begin to view yourself and others differently. You may begin to realize that you are no longer willing to sacrifice yourself so completely for others. So you work on establishing and holding boundaries. This is great progress in healing. And it also often angers the other people who are used to having you act in a certain way, a different way. Because of the work you've done and the healing you've experienced, you may now understand that some of the people in your life are not true friends. Instead, these people are using you, taking advantage of you, or manipulating you for their own benefit. These types of people users get really angry and hostile when suddenly they are no longer getting their way. In some cases, relationships can be saved as people make their adjustment to your new boundaries, although it might be bumpy getting to this point. In other cases, though, the users and manipulators may drop you once you're no longer allowing yourself to be used. And sometimes you come to the very hard realization that the only interest another person has is in using you. So you have to decide whether to keep the relationship on those terms or end the relationship. Family members can be especially difficult as healing is occurring and can push hard for you to go back to the old way of behaving that they're used to. This creates a lot of stress in what may be some very important relationships. Now, bringing this home to you, for trauma survivors, healing may mean losing a lot of your safety net as dysfunctional relationships come to an end. This can be really hard, and it seems unfair that healing and recovery can result in a life turned upside down. It can feel like taking 2 steps forward and a dozen steps back, and this is something that sometimes catches trauma survivors off guard. I don't want you to be blindsided by this, so I'm talking about it. Being aware of the risks can be helpful. You can keep an eye out for signs of strains in important relationships, and be more intentional about how you handle your recovery. If you're working with a therapist, you can talk over these relationship strains so that you can decide what you want for an outcome. I want to add that while it can be very painful and scary to lose relationships, in the end, freeing yourself from relationships with people who use or manipulate you creates the opportunity for you to develop new relationships with people who will respect you and your needs and see you as an equal, people who will support you and encourage you. In the long term, you'll come out far ahead. One thing that can help during that transition, where you are ending unhealthy or dysfunctional relationships but don't yet have healthy relationships to replace them, is to join a support group or try some group therapy. Either type of group can provide you with the support, encouragement, and validation you need as you work on building a new and healthier life that matches with your new and healthier self. Have you experienced a loss of relationships on your healing journey? Tell me about it in the comments and I'll respond.